A model village is a type of mostly self-contained community built from the late 18th century onwards by landowners and business magnates to house their workers. Although the villages are located close to the workplace, they are generally physically separated from them and often consist of relatively high-quality housing. With integrated community amenities and attractive physical environments, model is used in the sense of an ideal to which other developments could aspire. So these model villages were built by business magnates and landowners to house their workers, and did you see the picture that popped up on business magnates? There you go, you know who that is. The term model village was first used by the Victorians to describe the new settlements created on the rural estates by the landed gentry in the 18th century. So shall we have a bit of a look-see at what the landed gentry is? The landed gentry, or gentry, is a largely historical British social class of landowners who could live entirely from rental income, or at least had a country estate. While distinct from and socially below the British peerage, their economic base in land was often similar, although in fact some of the landed gentry were wealthier than some peers, and many gentry were close relatives of peers. In the British element of the wider European class of gentry, with or without noble title, owning rural land estates often brought with it legal rights of Lord of the Manor, and the less formal name or title of Squire. In Scotland, Laird. So Lord of the Manor. Yeah, Lord, this is a thing, right? It's a title, it says, is a title that in Anglo-Saxon England referred to the landholder or rural estate. The Lord enjoyed manorial rights as well as seigneury, the right to grant or draw benefit from the remainder. Oh my God, this is... See, words, I mean, look at... Just reading this. Words. Anglo-Saxon, and it says, right after it, England. So the word England was actually Angland. It's from Anglo-Saxon, the land of the Anglos. Anglo-Saxon, England. And this word Lord, lordy, I'm pretty sure in the Bible it says, do not, pretend to be the Lord, all this stuff, but we've got lords everywhere, right? Lord of the Manor. So this whole thing, I mean, and peer as well, did you catch that? Peer. Now what do we have today? Peer groups, peer pressure. It's all, today it's described as like social pressure and conforming to the norm. That's what peer pressure is. And peers is basically anyone or a group of people who, shall we say, believe they are better or smarter than you. I've got to read this. British peerage. The British nobility is made up of the peerage of the United Kingdom and the landed gentry. The nobility of its four constituent home nations has played a major role in shaping the history of the country, although now they retain only the rights to stand for election to the House of Lords. Dining rights, their position in the formal order of precedence, and the right to certain titles. The right of an audience, that is a private meeting with the monarch, and still more of a third of the British land is in the hands of aristocrats and traditional landed gentry. Now, I'm just, oh my gosh, I want a thesaurus with all these words. I mean, just reading this kind of stuff, you really start to see the spells and how it works and how they've changed our interpretation of what all these words mean, and also how they've just basically instigated themselves as the rulers, and they've done that by saying they own all the land. Now we know how they got that land. Something went boom, and after the smoke had cleared, they just ran around and said, no, all this land is ours. You must now work for us. We'll build your houses, but you've got to work for us. So yeah, British nobility. And what I see in that word is knob. So back to the British Isles, and where are we? The model village. So yeah, the rural estates were owned by the landed gentry, who were people who just happened to own all the land, and they could live off basically us, the sweat of us. They just, rent it out, and they say, oh yeah, we'll give you a place to live. Just work 60 hours a week and give me 80% of your money. So in the 18th century, as landowners sought to improve their estates for aesthetic reasons, we call that digging mud out, new landscapes were created, and the cottage of the poor were demolished and rebuilt out of sight of their country house vistas. Out of sight, out of mind, right? New villages were created at Noonan Courtenay. That looks like, definitely a New World building. When the village was rebuilt as plain brick dwellings either side of the main road at Milton Abbas, the village was moved and rebuilt in a rustic style. In Bristol, having had individually designed buildings, some with thatched roofs. Okay, so they built a town here. Wow, look at that. And then they moved it here to Blaze Hamlet. This is getting interesting. So I hope I'm just going on a bit of a walk here through the interwebs. Milton Abbas in Dorset, England. This is 2015. The houses are near the top of the main street. So these are from a planned village, and as you can see, they're all, they all look the same. And these are actually going up the hill flat. Look at that. So they're not flooded too much. Look at the thatching on the top there. So yeah, here's some houses. Let's see what else they have. That's where it is. This is the church they built, guys. And this is, it's what we see everywhere, right? Can you see these? How they've bricked in these, what look like used to be doorways? This one, they've had, at some point someone's put a human-sized doorway in there, and then they've bricked that up as well. No. And look at this. What the? And it looks like this might be an add-on. They've bricked this in and added this. So they can say, no, this was built by humans for humans. Because, I mean, look at the size of this, and look at this next to it. And this is an old world building. That's not much bigger. Here, 1, 2, 3 stories high. And it comes to like here. 3 stories is that. So that's literally, the top of this is like a 6-story building. And here we have Blaze Hamlet. It's a group of 9 small cottages around a green in Henbury, now in the district of North Bristol, and no doubt it started, they're going to tell us, as one of these villages. So they just, okay, these must be sort of really nice houses that they've preserved. Wow, look at that, look at that. Look, I have not seen that before. Okay, that wall curves out to meet the roof there. And, I mean, look at that building. It looks, I don't know, looks a little short. Here's some more. So these are all nice thatched roof buildings. And, of course, there's some tiles or slate. But the re-roofing is something that has gone on a lot. Oh, look at the size of those chimneys compared to the house, like literally. Oh my God, they're like a quarter the size of the whole house. Hello, kitty. Oh, again, look at these chimneys. And this is something that we saw in Sunlight Village, is the chimneys with all this ornate. Look at these chimneys. Look at that brickwork. And there, I mean, that is so much work just for a chimney. And then even on the top, I mean, this, you know, I don't believe chimneys were built just to get rid of smoke. And I don't believe fireplaces were originally to burn wood, because when we look back at these places, you know, that's just not what we see. It's not how it looks. These fireplaces, and it's been brought up, you know, fireplaces, we see them all the time, these big old ones, and they've always got these massive pieces of art on top of them. Now, who would do that? If you've got smoke and soot coming out of your fire, why would you hang nice artwork on? Here's just a few more pics. These are the types of buildings we see in these model villages. Now, I'm not sure if they were originally for housing, but they've definitely been turned into housing, like townhouses. And the same stuff everywhere. Townhouses, just a different facade, different roof. And the bottoms have been turned into shops now. And wow, old school phone booths. Again, and if you look at that, look at this. I mean, it's pretty much this, it's different facades, right? Different roofs. Even the chimneys. See? Even the chimneys are the same. But they look completely different. Now, this is clearly a brick building. So this is all facade. There you go. Clearly a brick building. It looks like it might have a wash on it. It might just be a different coloured brick. I don't know. But, you know, they're all the same, right? They're all the same. Holy dooly. That one's not quite the same. That's obviously, they're going to say that was a photograph of... What? Crespi Adder. Crespi de Adder. By Ian Spackman. Yeah, so I'm not sure where this one is, but look at all these bollards. Just completely buried. These buildings, clearly, they just look like classic old world mud flooders. As you can see, this is the fence, and this should be sort of the bottom of the building here, but it just looks like it's not there. I mean, look at this. How are they going to explain that one? What is this? Crespi de Adder. Oh my gosh. The more you know. Crespi de Adder is a village in northern Italian and Hamlet. What? Is a village in northern Italy and hamlet of Capriate San Gervasio in the municipality of Bergamo, Lombardy. So basically this looks like the same kind of thing. In 1865, a textile manufacturer from Busto Arsizio brought the 1 kilometre valley between the rivers to the south of Capriate for the intention of installing a cotton mill. Okay, so both the town and the factory were illuminated, thanks to electrical light. The hydroelectric power plant, blah, blah, blah. The settlement, which was built in 1878 next to the cotton mill, was a village and residential area provided with social services such as a clinic, a school building, a theatre and a cemetery. So there you go. They'll educate you, they'll indoctrinate you through school, then they will keep that going when you're an adult and working through the theatre, and then they'll bury you. Because in the end, to them, you're always dead, right? So this is in Italy as well. And this is the kind of buildings that they were building, of course. Right, so the story is he's bought a kilometre of land with some rivers. He's built a hydroelectric plant to run his cotton mill, and these are the kind of buildings he was building. This is, this must be his house, the Crespi Castle, and that is most definitely a castle. The Parish Church, this is the church he built. of course, right? Why not? Of course it's up on a mound, off the ground, like, because it looks a little short. It looks like it's missing most of the building. And Tiquitec everywhere, but I mean, this is the story. The story is he built this church for his workers. I mean, seriously? Come on. The castle. Yep, look at that. Look in there. Oh. Well, it doesn't like me doing that. Yeah, up in here, all this, look at that. And so again, this is a stupid story. In a workers' village, he's just built, I don't know, I think they're saying he built that for himself. Because he wanted to live, amongst his workers, but he wanted to be the king of the castle. And these are the houses they built. Look at this, all exactly the same. And of course, all with different facades. They're very square, aren't they? Oh my gosh, this is the cemetery. Okay, I guess this is where the founder's buried. I don't know. You've got to be kidding me. And look at these, they're all the same. So what did he do? Build this village and then pre-make, all the tombstones for his workers because he was, he was ready for them to die. This is just madness. And there's, okay, so that's the cotton mill. Okay, because this is how you build cotton mills. Like this. Of course. And yeah, okay. Fair enough. And some more of the houses. Again, different facades and everything. So, I don't know, what do you reckon? Old world and new world, they, a bit hard to tell. They're all the same, that's for sure. They're all very square. So I'm not sure. I have to see a bit more to sort of make a decision there. This clearly looks old world, mainly because, look, it's up on this mound and we just have these windows right here. And they're windows because they're directly under these other windows. They'll tell you they're vents, it's to vent the basement. Yeah, well, it's not really a basement if you're sort of on a hill. And what do they do? Build it and then fill it in. And of course, old world street lamp, which we see all across the realm. So here's a few model villages. Now this one is in England, and this is a retirement village. So yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon, guys? Any familiar shapes there? Looks like we've got, I don't know, is that a sunken church? I mean, it's hard to tell. These could be old, they've got that look, haven't they? But, it could be that this is an old world building. I mean, over here definitely looks old world. Down in here, see all this? Old world buildings, cathedrals and things everywhere. I mean, these, look at these buildings. So I don't know, that they may have been built on top of something else, but clearly there was something there. But these may be all sunk, who knows, 10 foot, there may just be, houses under the ground everywhere. And this is Highgate Village in 1800. A few people around and the same story. They've all got their cathedral and their big old world oversized buildings. I mean, that looks either huge or out of perspective, this house here, because look at it compared to this cathedral. Bit strange. But yeah, this is another one of these created communities. This is another model village called Lechworth Gardens. And as you can see, I mean, it's clearly, this is a modern photo. But you can still see here, obviously we've got down here our roundabout, and it's even sectioned into 6. Have our boulevard, and at the top here, fountain, the big sort of greenery, and then the runway. We see this everywhere. This, you see this in like France at the Palace of Versailles. It's just everywhere, this kind of layout. And of course then we have these diagonals coming off. This sort of diagonal look that we get, this radiating kind of pattern that's in a lot of these old towns. And I mean, look at that building just sticking out there too. This one here, can you see that? Nice big old world building. And this runway goes, well actually it keeps going. So there should be, I can't see any buildings. Is there one down this end? I don't know. Normally at the end of these, you get a massive, like palace type building, and you get those semicircles with the pillars, the columns. But that seems to have been taken out of here. But we've still got some nice old buildings. And yeah, so this is it's what they're saying is a pre-built town, basically. And as I read earlier, these were all about landowners, people who owned the land. We don't know why they owned the land. Well, we do. But of course, they don't tell us in the history books. It's just because they claimed it. And then I'm thinking they just dug these out, turned them into towns, repurposed the buildings and the factories to start up industry, and then told people, you can move in and you're now workers. And this was probably done because this was all in the 1800s, up to the 1900s, probably, very likely done with orphan children. Why wouldn't it be? And this is a bit more about Lechworth. These are the plans, and as you can see, look at this map. I mean, that just, we've all seen this everywhere, right? This layout that to me just looks like the Palace of Versailles, pretty much. And they're, of course, saying that they designed all these, but, as we know, they give us all these designs and these plans, and what they really are drawings. Like this. The cottages, and they say, oh, here's the plans, but that's not plans. That's just someone drawing what's there. Drawing the floor plan. There's no elevations, there's no anything, a bit of a scale. So yeah, same here. These are all sort of repurposed. They draw them up, they claim them, and it looks like, what I'm thinking is this is like a World's Fair. The World's Fair sort of, I would say, were the more, the larger cities, or at least the larger intact cities. And they were used for mass indoctrination, basically. Bring out, the orphan children, the orphan trained children, and tell them, give them the new script of reality and tell them what it is. And then, of course, tell them that they're the workers, they're the lower class, and the people putting on the fair are, they're the landowners and the gentry, right? The peers. And they basically, they give them the script and, give them their jobs, send them out into the countryside and to different towns and get them working. And of course, post cataclysm, there probably wasn't heaps of food and heaps of stuff around, so, they would have been, given what they needed to survive. So that would have sort of set them into that, into that paradigm of what, being, because then, 10 years pass, 20 years, a generation, and people are just in the habit of just doing. They no longer remember why they're doing it. They're just going to work because they need to eat and all this kind of stuff. And this is how we find ourselves here. And what it looks like is these towns, they're saying were pre-designed, with designs like this. I think were the same thing, but, because it clearly says that these were set up by the landowners, the business owners, the gentry, for their workers to live in. And so they put all their workers in there and, give them the new script and their workers, and a generation passes and people just think that that's the norm. That's what you're supposed to do. So there we go. I just wanted to show that and give my hypothesis of what these places might be. These, they're called, they've got a few different names. They're called garden cities. They're called model villages or model cities. A few different names, but they're all pre-built. And just having a look, that these are just in England. It looks like these are, across the world. I've found a few in Europe and even some in the US. So there we go. And just one other point before I do finish up is in one of my previous videos I talked about port sunlight. Now this is port sunlight. Same story, and as you can see here, the old world layout. We've even got the bits here, but this is like what I just call it a runway because it kind of looks like one. And they always go up to these big buildings, and they're normally domed. And I mean, look at the size of the cars. This is all pre-built for the workers. But yeah, I got an email, and thank you to everyone who does send me information. I don't always remember who it's from. I just get so much stuff, but thank you. And this person said that they saw a report on a mainstream media outlet, and it was talking about the origins of soap operas as far as, Days of Our Lives and Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful. There you go. I know one that's current. And these soap operas, and of course they started on radio, and what they were designed, because the men were out working, they were designed to basically target the women, the home owners, or no, the home makers is what they called them. And basically, to target them with advertising and tell them to go and buy all this stuff they didn't need it. Because, when you do that, then people get short of money, they need to work more. You can talk, mothers into getting a job, fathers getting second jobs, and you can basically, it's just a way of, what do they call it? Circuses and cakes, is that what they say? But, to give people stuff to distract them, and also to bring in their maritime trade economy. But yeah, that's how soap operas started, and there was a link to this port sunlight, because port sunlight is called port sunlight not because it's sunny, because it's the home of the Sunlight soap factory, and so it was built around a soap factory basically, and all the houses were for the workers who worked in the soap factory. And yeah, that's where the word soap opera comes from. And of course it went from selling housewives things to these just mind-numbing indoctrination programs basically, and all through the sort of 70s and 80s, a lot of housewives did sit in front of the telly for hours and watch these shows and all the drama and get all involved in it, and basically live someone else's life instead of their own, and also be indoctrinated into this is what the world is. People are mean and they're all out to get you, and it's all about money and how you look and rah rah rah. Because we know what soap operas are, right? They're all about the rich people and the lives they supposedly lead. So just thought I'd finish with that. Soap operas actually come, they're completely indoctrination, and they originate from, I'm not sure if it's just Port Sunlight, but from these villages that were supposedly created, I would say dug out and repurposed to create basically worker villages. You put an industry in there, get all the people, this is what you do, you're workers, train them up, blah, blah, blah. Here's your church, here's your shop, here's your school, and off to the races you go. So there we go, guys. A bit on, just pre-made villages, and again, it all looks the same as, a population being released, shall we say, into the new world, given a script, and then with that script given, positions, given jobs, you're this, you're that, and also, given what they needed to live, so that to keep them there and to keep them sort of compliant for a while until a point that they were so indoctrinated that they just thought that was normal. And of course, if these are orphans coming out and they don't know anything, well, they're just going to believe anything you tell them, really, aren't they? Because, we've talked about it a lot. If you cut the generation, cut the learning and the knowledge for one generation, then you control the next generation. And this looks like what seems to have happened. So that's, not the happiest note to finish on. I should sing a song or something. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. So there you go, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me. Have a magnificent day. Stay awesome because you are, and I'll talk to you on the next upload. Bye for now. Don't worry. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy now.